What's going on, Team Boosted? Welcome to another OM606 Datsun video. In this video, we are going to find out what a Nissan Pathfinder, a 350Z, and a 240SX has in common. These things are all going to come together to solve one of our problems and help us go maybe 200 miles an hour. Not that anybody should ever do that in an uncaged, glued together Datsun, but hey, we might find out. If this video gets 5,000 likes, we'll try to hit 200 miles an hour when it's all put together.
50,000 likes. I'm not doing that.
Hell, dude, I'll hit 200 miles an hour.
James said he would do it. No, he said he would do it.
200 likes.
He just wants to do it.
I'll do it. As long as it's got better brakes.
Find out how we're going to make this glued together S30 go 200 miles an hour in this episode. And that's...
Fire on Boosted Shades.
Oh, yeah. Also, if you want to support us financially, boostedshades.com.
All right, now
let's
to the
get
video.
started. Okay, so you notice in that time lapse there, I just took off the valve cover. The reason being is we kind of broke the original factory breather thing that it had going, but that was also part of like some emissions control loop, and we're not doing none of that. We're just going to run a standard oil separator breather box. So we're going to weld an AN bung to the stock breather port on this, and then we'll show you what we got for a breather box later on. But weld that on, repaint this. This color was a little boring anyway, so we're gonna spice it up a little bit. Knock it up a notch. It's not gonna be ridiculous, but we're gonna knock it up a notch. So we got this cool kind of like red flake color for the valve cover. And we were sitting here and it kind of looks familiar, and we're wondering where we've seen this color before. I don't know. We got some junkyard content for you. We're here because we found a 350Z at a junkyard that hasn't been completely taken apart, partially because it's an automatic, but believe it or not, that's what you want. I mentioned that we're doing the 200 mile an hour thing. The automatics that weren't base model had a VLSD 3.3. The thing with that is that the 3.3 diff has the big ring and pinion, so that way we could use the special set of gears that I bought. We'll get to that in a minute. To put in there. We want it to have LSD because that also means that the stubs should swap. The stubs should swap over. So I'm not going to film pulling a differential in a junkyard because it's already really.
Differential in a junkyard.
It sucks. It sucks and it's hot, and these onesies were cool on paper, but now it's a bad idea. Yeah, it's true. All right, let's pull this out, and then we're gonna double check that it is actually an LSD, and head back to the shop and show you what we're working with. James, do we have good news?
Good news, everyone.
The right one, LSD, big fucking offset gear. So this is the 3.3 to 1, and then it's got the viscous traction, and there's no chunks.
It's clean in there, actually. I mean, you know, as clean as a diff ever gets.
And it should only be like $80. So
yeah, and I mean, at least on our puny attempts to try to like spin the two hubs in opposite directions, the thing's locked up good. So seems like the viscous unit's actually still hanging in there.
So we're gonna bolt this up and carry it out. And
yep, that's the game plan.
All right, so an important thing that we want to get done while we have everything out of this car, the engine, transmission, and everything, is all of the plumbing. We had some brake lines to do, which I've already done. We have the hard lines for the fuel, which we're gonna have go from the back to the front. That way we only need as little soft line as possible. And we also have the clutch line. I've already kind of started here, as you can see, unplumbing the fuel line. We've got the brake line redone now that we have more room in here and we could actually get to it without subframe in the way. And the clutch line, it's pretty short, but we'd rather have that kind of hard mounted and use, again, as little soft line as possible. So let's get all this plumbing done.
Okay, so back at the shop now. Here's our old R200. Now, you probably won't be able to tell on camera, but it is smaller than this one. And it uses a different cover. We're gonna find out if these covers swap. I actually have no idea.
It looks like they might, but...
The big difference in size comes from this bulge right here, which is hiding the bigger gear in this one. So we wouldn't be able to just take the gear set that we want and put it in that R200. We needed this one. Apparently these should swap out with the ones on that, but we're not gonna know until we take
both of them apart and start playing with parts. I'll figure it out.
Okay, so here's what we're looking like. This is the old one, and we can tell right away that the covers are not compatible because these bolts are, I mean, you could tell on the camera, really far apart, and maybe these two would line up, but you know, for being the same diff, well, it's also like how they have the long nose R200 is like on a different planet. And
Yeah,
then you got these
the
old...
long nose R200 is a completely different thing than the normal R200. It's just the ring and pinion happens to be the same.
So
the 350Z R200s are just like not even that's the same between the two.
I guess what we really want to find out is the swappability of these stubs here, because if they don't swap, then our job is going to be much harder than just mounting this in and switching out some gears. So we got this one off. You can take a peek in there. It's junkyard diff.
Nice and clean.
I will say we got super lucky finding a 350Z with anything salvageable at a junkyard, especially a car that was there from we understand since December. We think this is drained. I mean, we're about to find out. Oop. Oh no.
Not quite.
Not even close, dude. Jesus.
Not even. Well, I'm gonna get the cat litter. There you go. Take your phone.
Yeah, get the cat litter quick, dude.
Mistakes were made. People got hurt.
This smells.
I'm just putting a ton of this shit down. Just let it drain, man. Just let it drain. Best case scenario we got at this point. Just let the cat litter do its job.
Dude, this was full.
I thought you were gonna drain this diff, but I guess it was full. Oops.
Okay, so we got some new cardboard down. It smells like, I don't even know what gear oil smells like. It's not great though. It's probably
It's not a good smell.
It's one of my least favorite smells for sure.
So
So,
anyone would say it is their favorite smell.
you know, hate's a powerful word, but I hate gear oil. Anyways, we're gonna try to swap these out. We're assuming that this was a VLSD before it had this funny locker in it too.
Yeah, internet lied to you, bud.
They lied?
Yep.
No way.
Yep.
It's impossible. So the internet lies.
Big shock.
Are you surprised at all?
Not even remotely.
All right.
I didn't believe you when you said it was gonna work.
What do we
So
do
we
now?
will need different axles, is basically where we're at, or different stub axles.
So what was learned is that 350Z LSD output shafts are swappable. This being from a 240SX, totally not compatible. But what we did learn is 350Z axles actually have the same splines, allegedly.
Always say allegedly.
Always say allegedly, that's right, as the splines and the hubs for these. So what we're gonna do is just go to O'Reilly's and pick up 350Z axles, and that'll actually be a pretty good upgrade anyway. And then of course, if they don't work, we can just return them. And then we don't have to modify this at all. We can just destroy the subframe, modifying it to fit this, and we got the upgraded axles, and we're good to go. We have our, because a lot of people, what they do is they want the upgrade to the axles, so they'll put like a weird fucky adapter on this thing, and that makes it way too long, and then you gotta do all sorts of other stuff. So we don't have to do any of that. We can just run this and that, and we're good to go.
Is that and the other?
Yep.
Figure it out.
All right, so today we are going to take apart the S13 subframe and modify it to fit the bigger 350Z differential in it. Apparently, we might get away with not even having to space out the hubs, but Apparently the splines are the same for 350Z axles, so I picked up a set of those, ship it in later, and we'll find out if we need to do any funky spacing or anything like that. But we're gonna have to chop this thing up pretty good to fit that big diff in it. Always use the impact gun.
Yeah, and always use a crescent wrench.
Okay, so if we use, this is a 3-bolt system. The old cover had 4, actually, you can see those. But there's this bolt hole right here, and if we use that, it looks like it centers this thing pretty well. We just gotta take some measurements.
I mean, it depends on what you're referring to being centered.
Yeah.
But the 350Z axles are, one is 2 inches shorter than the other, and this is almost exactly 2 inches offset that way. So it actually looks like that's about where it wants to be.
And then we gotta cut that hoop out because it's sitting all like this, and then we'll get it flat. We'll brace this, and then we'll make a new plate for mounting those two. Huge. Is it clean enough to eat off of? Damn, I don't think any Datsun ever's been clean enough to eat off of.
Probably not.
This one's not either, but that is it anyway.
Valid.
Devin, you keep that fang on you? Damn. I was talking about that. So anyways, part of this being nice is sound deadening and heat insulation. Keep the passenger compartment not shitty.
Yeah, the exhaust runs right through here, so.
Trying to get it as flat as possible with this little roller. It's working out pretty good. We can trim this as needed once we put stuff back in.
Well, you
But
can see I trimmed this side and stuff, and if we have any clearance issues, which we might up here, we can all take care of that when it gets in there.
all right, so what you're looking at is maybe 2 out of 100 successful.
Extraction attempts.
Yes, like I've attempted it 100 times and been successful twice. So this type, you drill a hole. We're gonna do it one more time because there's one more broken stud in here.
Yeah, it's up here. Where is it?
It's this guy. So if it works again, that'd be tight. But anyways, pretty pumped about that because we were just gonna deal with the fact that it had 2 studs that were broken inside the head. It didn't leak out of this before with every one but the 2. So anyways, let's now that I'm confident.
I had 100% confidence that we'd get that out with that.
I didn't,
have you know.
but that's okay. Okay, so you see in there we got the stud that's broken, drilled out. So we're just gonna put this in here and hammer it in. You put this thing on it, which goes on it.
Yeah, a little.
I like to go all the way to the bottom so the fucking thing doesn't. All right, so I'm turning it that way. Right?
Yep, turn it counterclockwise.
Feels good. Feels promising.
Yeah, I mean, if it doesn't feel like it's ripping the insides of that remaining stud out, then it's probably actually threading it out.
Again.
There she blows.
All right. Write this company a letter because that's
Pretty sure these are Snap-on.
Oh, Snap-ons, that makes sense. So they were $13,000, but
I mean, it was probably straight up $500 for that set of extractors.
we have a fully extracted freaking thing that I could run.
No studs, and all the threaded holes are still threaded. It's truly a miracle.
Today's a good day. So you won't recognize this, but this is the captured nut from the original hoop. Here's one that has not been included into this thick ass piece of metal. A top torque goes through the rear subframe, so we're trying to make the new stuff even stronger than the old stuff.
Yeah.
And these just happen to be the same thread pitch as the bolts for the 350Z diff that we got from the junkyard, so
Why not?
it's here.
It was complicated.
This is way more work than it should have been, and this is honestly was the dumbest decision I made in my life. So.
Rip.
Okay, so this is pretty intense, but this is going to be the new diff map. So we'll resume. It's late now, and this isn't going to cool down until tomorrow because
This side right here, how thick that is.
yes, we were melting.
Melding.
Yes. Yeah, so we're gonna wait till it cools down and then finish up mounting this tomorrow, and then it's gonna get painted. And... ooh, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah. Shocking that building a car from scratch is a lot of work.
Oh, it's a lot of work.
It's almost like it's the only thing that we do and we never learn.
So here's where we're at. Obviously, we got the front. It's one stud in it, and we got a hole drilled, so this is center. In the back, we got the stock captured nuts welded to this ginormous piece of rectangular tube. And is rectangular tube a thing? Whatever. Anyways, we're just gonna bend, because we have a tubing bender, we're gonna bend circular tube in this arch shape, and then just gusset it all to this. And she mounted, boy. Okay, so we put the subframe in the car because when we weld it, we don't want it to deform. So if we could bolt it in how it sits, and we leave this little reinforcement bar we've added earlier, this will help it like get not all messed up. Yeah. So we're gonna weld what we can, what's available to us to weld. And then the idea is gonna be to kind of box this all in and connect it on either side, and we can do that now that we know it fits, like sometimes with barely any clearance, but it does fit. And then we'll put the diff up and make sure everything fits, and then we'll take it down and paint it and then put it back up. No, I wasn't prepared.
What? You just told me to do it.
All right, well now
All right, we're shut up. All right, so this is pretty much what we were talking about earlier. Oh my God.
And because all of this metal is so thick, we could just turn the MIG welder up like all the way and just melt this in so good.
Let's show you what the structure used to be. Okay, so now that we got the, let me show you now where we concluded last night. So you can see that we got both of the big ass plates down here made, and we're just gonna finish patching that up, and then when the whole subframe's done, we'll bolt the diff in and show you that. But we have work to do with the diff. The diff itself, we need to change the gearing in it, the ring and pinion. If we want to go 200 miles an hour, and nobody actually does, but if we want the car to be able to do that, then the 3.3 whatever in here is not long enough. We do have the 2.937 gears, and these are actually pretty hard to find. A little pricey, but it's gonna make the drivability of the car insanely better. We gotta do something with all that big diesel torque, and we don't really need the short gear ratio. It's gonna cut down on that jerky thing that it does, and it's gonna make it just an overall highway missile, so.
yeah, and it gets it much closer to like what the stock gear ratio that Mercedes had in these things
what they intended it to be.
So the engine should be happier like cruising on the freeway and everything, because the tires on this are about the same
Then we could
size.
pop it in fourth and do like a 50 to 140 pull with
Yeah, pretty
45
much, man. It's
PSI.
like having a Hellcat, but with like, you know, it's
Diesel.
light and it can turn.
All right, let's take this cover off and get started. right, so right now Sam is putting on the shims and the stuff and the bearing like covers things, right? Or those are just...
These are just the races.
The races for the bearings. And this whole thing will drop in and the new ring will mesh with the new pinion.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Okay, so with the shims that we could fit in there, we're gonna tighten everything down, and then pretty much you're measuring how much wobble it has. Time to measure the backlash. And if all is well, we'll pretend that we knew what we were doing this whole time and put it in the car, and then if it makes noise, it was $100 at the junkyard and I can just go buy another one. And we can try it again, or just bring it to a transmission shop. Yeah, Sam, tell the people what, I'm gonna come around so you can see, but I'm hearing Sam make noises of goodness. That sounds wrong. Well, I mean...
So the spec is 3.9 to 5.9 thou, and that's just a hair over 4. So
Ooh,
It's on the tight side, but with the shims we got,
that's pretty good.
yeah.
Okay, so it's got some breakaway torque because everything's all tight and shit.
Yeah, it's all fresh. There we go. Yeah, it's just all the tension on all the bearings.
But it's spinning, it's not making noise, the wipe looks great, the backlash is actually perfect. I don't know if you overheard Sam.
Yeah, I heard him talking. He said it was like right in the snug end of the range or whatever.
Everything's torque to spec, so I mean, I really don't see a situation in which this wouldn't work. It's just, every time you do something for the first time, it's, let's wait and see, but I'm pretty confident.
In my heart of hearts, I feel like this diff's already blown up. Even though, like, it all checks out.
All right, well, it's also a junkyard diff, so we'll see what we get.
All right, here we go. So we're gonna just kind of wiggle it on there like so.
Yeah, put the middle.
As it turns out, Sam did in fact design this thing to be like bolted in back to front. Because I went right in too.
Nice.
Yep, those are in. They're not tight, but more or less looking at it.
All right, so here it is. We are going to be assembling things now, because this is like the last major fabrication thing that we had to do. I said in the beginning of the video something about a 350Z and Nissan Pathfinder. The 2.9 gear ratio is actually from a Nissan Pathfinder, the front diff and the four-wheel drive cars, so that's interesting, in case you didn't know that.
Just making this car even more of a Franken car.
Oh, this car isn't even a Datsun anymore.
It's a billion different cars.
Billion different cars. So now it has the capability to go just about 200 miles an hour. So we're getting our gauges from Speed Hut in. I'm switching gears now. We just switched gears, but I'm switching topics. Yeah, you had a really lame-ass dad joke last time, so I had to drop one.
God damn it. All right.
We're getting our gauges from Speed Hut in. We're super pumped about that. We have to put the entire interior together. We got to put the engine back in. And this is going to behave like an entirely different car. This gear ratio is going to give us 30% more speed pretty much in every gear. The way the math works out, I think. But
should prevent a lot of that jerking issue that we've been having.
So the plan is to put the drivetrain stuff back in, so while we're doing the interior, we can do test and tunes, keep the content a little bit spicy. But pretty much that's what's on the roster. This video, though, this took all week to do, so we're ready to get the hell out of here. And that means Devin's going to pick a winner for the video giveaway. If you guys aren't familiar with the channel, we give away products from boostedshades.com. Every single video. All you gotta do to win is like, make sure you're subscribed, and leave a comment.
This video's winner is Sam S.
All right, Sam, you can hit us up at teamboosted@boostedshades.com or through any of our social media platforms. We'll get back to you and ship you something. I explained how to win. I also explained that any comment, you're good to go, but we ask you guys stuff at the end of the video to get those thinking bits working a little bit easier. I have an interesting question. Did you see the Rob Don video where he raced the unicorn?
Yeah.
Did you see that it was like literally blowing to pieces as he got faster and faster? So if this thing is gonna go 200 miles an hour, what would fall off first? The hood's already gone, so what's left? I mean, Rob Don was losing fenders and all kinds of shit. Would the wheels fall off? Leave the first piece of the car to leave the vicinity if we attempted a 200 mile an hour run.
It's a good question.
I think the driver would be the first.
The driver, he just had the whole.
I'd
Well, it
bail.
depends on how good we mount the seat, but we've not sorted them in the past, so.
Might be again. All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.